what you're doing. It's time for the box seats. Our host, that right there, is Tyler Harris. That's comedian Fig. That boy is Rodney Perry. Let's not forget Mike Sean and the business bully. That man coming up next is Frank Holder, our illustrious executive producer. And this is 2022, and you're tuned into the box seats. You are tuned into the box seats. We are rocking and rolling like we do. I'm off to a great day today, and hopefully you are as well. My name is Rodney Perry. I'll be walking us through this cavalcade of sports and comedy. Joining me, the legendary, light-skinned, the man with the funky fresh hair. Welcome to the show, comedian Fig. What's up, brother?
Man, I was waiting for Mike Sean.
Mike Sean, wish he had your curl pattern. How are you today?
Man, I'm feeling good, man. About to go on a roll, Uncle Rodney.
Oh yeah, you get out this weekend? Where you headed?
Well, first we're in Massachusetts in New Bedford. I'm with Talent, and then we off to Syracuse.
Oh, it should be a good weekend.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Get to be with my boy.
Yeah, comedian Fig, one of the world-renowned joke slangers. Mad respect, mad love. Also joining us today, he hit us with some funky fresh haberdashery yesterday, and today not to be rivaled. Welcome to the show, Amir, A-Rock, Seeley. What's up, brother?
Oh my God.
Gentlemen,
how you doing today? Now is that of the Stetson brand? What is that?
You know what's so funny, Ronnie? This particular hat actually was a gift. Doesn't even have a label inside. Somebody I know
it may be
saw
a Dob. It looked like a Dob. D-O-B-B, Dob.
And they were like, Amir, I could see you doing something with this, so they gifted it to me, and I like it because it just is somewhat distinct. It doesn't look like anything. It doesn't have a band or anything. It's just the coloring, and it's funny because in the light, it's either black or blue. It just depends on how the light's hitting it. So,
all right, for me, it looks black, but like I see, like under the bottom, it could be like a navy blue.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
so
well done. And you can wear that. That's a great dress-up joint too.
Now,
with the round top.
Background, man. You must be in the Waldorf Astoria right now.
I'm on the premises. We just doing what we doing. But it's it's Friday.
Say don't worry about where he at. Okay.
We feeling good, and as always, man, it's great to be on here chopping it up with you gentlemen. So I'm always
man, always welcome, man. How are you today, Mr. Amir?
I'm good, man. Like I said, it's Friday. It's cold here in New York, so we gotta kind of keep that in mind. But hopefully we're moving towards the warmer weather sooner than later, and we'll get there, and then everything will be good.
Indeed. Not to be outdone when it comes to funky fresh haberdashery. Ladies and gentlemen, not only is he wearing a hat, but he's also sitting in a smoking jacket. Welcome to the show, the bully.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
Smoking marijuana.
What's happening? No. First of all, one does not smoke marijuana. Okay, that's cheap, Uncle Rodney.
Okay,
I
I'm
need
sorry.
receipts. First of all, this is the finest hand-rolled CBD for my joint pain. I don't think you understand. I'm training for the Tough Mudder. All of you are invited. May 21st in Philadelphia, I will be doing an obstacle course 5K. And to get my fat ass to do this tells you I've lost a ton of weight because I don't do anything athletic other than hold on to my wife.
So hey, I'm glad you're working on those joints, man. How are you, brother?
Uncle Rodney, if I could get any better, they'd arrest me because no black man should have all this fun.
Hey, you know what? I completely agree. The bully is absolutely in the building, Miss Renee. Renee Gaynor rocking with us. Trina is in the building. Drusilla, I see you. Shouts out to Trina Pinkett in the building. Shouts out to LaToya Bachelor, Tracy Brown Harper. Appreciate you guys for tuning into the show. And it's time to rock it out. The name of the show is Box Seats, where comedy and sports meet. I think Frank Holder is having a new edition withdrawal. He's not in today. Fig, I sent the link over to Fig this morning. Say 2 minutes before the show, I can hear your voice. Like, what is this? Well, I took a nap today because I be nodding off sometime while I'm talking, and so I wanted to make sure I was fresh for the show, and then I got up literally 6 minutes ago. All right,
maybe you should partake in what Business Bully has for his joint.
I would still be laying down if I took that, but I do need some work on my joints. All right, let's see. Box seats. Shouts out to Miss Sharonda who came through with the stories. And we're gonna rock through. She has 7,000 stories, so I probably won't get to them all, but we're gonna rock and roll nonetheless. Where do I start? Man, it's so much up. Bradley Beal says it is fair to say he's leaning toward re-signing with the Wizards. Bradley says he is in no rush to make a decision on the future, but acknowledge he is leaning toward re-signing with the Washington Wizards this offseason. What's y'all thoughts, man? Bradley Beal, we've heard trade rumors with his name, but Bradley Beal is in no hurry. Comedian Fig.
The fact that he would say something like that with his skill set to be in with the Wizards, if you will, I think he needs to go see the Wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz, because he's out of his damn mind. You ain't gonna win it. He is a perennial all-star, man. This kid, he's incredible, man. He's like one of the best NBA. I'd say he's at least top 20 NBA players right now, man. Bradley Beal needs to be on the contender, man. I mean, look, he's given the Washington Wizards all he had, and they've never done anything, for him. He needs to move on. That's just my humble opinion.
I'm not mad at that opinion at all. Emir Roxilly, he didn't really say he was staying, but he said it's fair. They asked him in a press conference. He said that it's fair to say that, So he's being a little vague. But how about this? Beal is eligible to sign a 5-year, $246 million deal with the Wizards if he declines his player option of $36.4 million for the 22-23 season. Maybe the money incentive is where he's at. What's your thought?
It could be. I think, the other side of it too, and, something that we may not want to take into consideration in his particular case, maybe he just doesn't want the headache of definitively having to really carry a franchise. Look, we got a lot of great players who are great, but they don't want to knapsack any city in particular. And he may fall under that category. I'm not saying that that's what he's doing, but he may fall under the category of saying, look, I don't want to have a city be, carried on my back, whether we rise, whether we fall, and go through all of that stuff. I see what it's doing to some of my, my counterparts and some of my, other friends, and I don't need that kind of pressure. So if I could stay someplace where the money is solid, I could just go out and do my job, I'm good. And it is what it is. So he might be, he might fall under that, train of thought, which I ain't mad at him for. It's all good.
We are definitely not mad at the great Bradley Beal. And like Emir said, in a league where guys are not afraid to pack their bags and go somewhere else, bully, is it refreshing to see a guy like Bradley Beal that might be willing to stay on a team that maybe is just his team from he's comfortable. He's there.
Uncle Rodney, in pro wrestling, we have this thing when someone goes off script called going into business for yourself, meaning that you're not doing what the company wants you to do. You're going into business for yourself. Bradley Beal understands the importance of going off script and going into business for himself because, let's face it, there's not been this much talk about the Washington Wizards since Michael Jordan was stinking up the joint and couldn't even make the playoffs. But we don't talk about that from a legacy standpoint.
Wow.
Now, the thing... Well, I'm sorry. I was coming from a statistical place. I'm the business analyst on this show. I'm coming from a statistical place. The other part of that is Bradley Beal. People don't know this because they only talk about his upbringing, but they don't realize that from kindergarten all the way through 8th grade, Bradley Beal attended Hogwarts, and so he expects some patronum along with some cash, and he's going to get it to the tune of about $246 million. So yeah, it's safe to say that Bradley Beal is about to make some money magic.
I hope Bradley's joints are in order. Kevin Durant back in the fold with the Nets. He comes off the MCL injury, dropped 31 points in a losing effort to the Heat. Are we glad to see Kevin Durant back, Bully? Are you excited about this?
I
And
love Kevin Durant.
how do you come back in such great fashion, even though you got your ass whooped?
First of all, here's the thing, and are we going to be honest, Uncle Rodney? Are we going to talk about the fact that Kevin Durant has been consistently one of the greatest players of the last few years? Can we talk about the fact that if it was not for Kevin Durant, we would have lost to Narnia in the Olympics? Like, Kevin Durant has done so much. Like, don't even get me started. Them little guys over from Lilliput, yo, them dudes was like a bunch of little Spud Webbs, man. And don't even get me started on the Orcs. Kevin Durant is an amazing athlete. He's sensational. He dropped 31 points and still managed to free the people of Westeros. I think Kevin Durant needs to go down in history. But yeah, I mean, you're 31 points and you still lose. What's that tell you about the rest of the team?
I mean,
there's some movement. They need a gel.
Yo, Comedian Fig, same question, man. 31 points. He comes back. He's feeling good. He's looking fresh. Team high 31 points, mind you. 113-107 to the Heat. The Heat win that game at the Barclays Center. What's your thoughts on Kevin Durant's comeback?
Listen, when you come back, I don't care what you do, man. I mean, stats are nice, but if you don't win, it was an unsuccessful return, debut, what have you. He did all he could without his counterparts. There's at least 3 key players to the Brooklyn Nets that are missing. You don't have Kyrie because they played at home. You still don't have the light-skinned Ben Simmons because he's not playing just yet. And Seth Curry is not playing. So they're undermanned. And any team in the NBA that is playing against a playoff contender, if you're undermanned, you're gonna lose.
Wow. Well said, Comedian Fig. Yo, Amir A-Rock Silly, the guy drops 31 points, leads all scorers on his team, and just can't get it done. Does that give you reason for pause?
No, I think, again, the Brooklyn Nets are obviously getting healthy again, hopefully, and they're getting healthy at the right time. The fact that Kevin Durant can have that long a layoff and then produce in the way that he has, again, to Business Bully's point, shows, how great an athlete he really is and how wonderful a scorer he is. Like I, said, I think on a previous broadcast, to me, he's the closest thing that we've seen to a George Gervin in a very long time because he's smooth with the way he plays the game. It looks like it comes so easy to him and so effortlessly that it's scary. Like, you watch other guys and, you look up and they'll have, however many points and you'd be like, oh, wow. But you watch Kevin Durant and you look up and it'd be a 45 on you and you'd be like, I was watching the game. I was like, how did he get 45? Did I miss something? And he just does it effortlessly. So I think that once his team members, and he has his full cast of characters again, they're going to be definitely a force to reckon with, come playoff time. So like I said, I can't wait. I'm glad to see cats getting their engines, revved and, getting back in playoff, getting back in basketball shape, obviously to be in playoff shape because that takes a different beast,
Yo, I got another something else because as you talk, Amir, it really jogs something in my mind. I've been thinking about in reference to Kevin Durant that I don't think and I dropped the StreamYard link in the chat. Guys, if you guys are tuned into the show and you want to pop in and give your 2 cents on the subject, please by all means take advantage of that. We'd love to have you come in and say what you have to say. But in reference to Kevin Durant, and I'll post this to everybody, man. And Fig, LeBron takes a lot of criticism as a leader, but nobody puts that same pressure on KD. KD is largely a lead by example guy. He's never vocal. He didn't say nothing to Kyrie. He didn't say nothing to James Harden. He didn't say nothing to nobody. Why don't we put this guy in the hot seat as a leader, Amir?
I think one of the reasons why they don't necessarily put him on the hot seat as a leader is because, at least from what we've seen to this point, Kevin Durant does fire back. It's not like if you say something about him, he doesn't, have a response or give his reasons why he feels the way that he feels. So I don't think he shies away from that. I think as a collective, we just realize that there are certain people, when you really think about it, who can handle the pressure a little bit differently than others. And Kevin Durant, to me, appears to be one of these guys who he doesn't handle the criticism the same way, like you said, maybe a LeBron or, some of the other, great players in the league do. Kevin Durant fires back. Now, they be sneaky, but he does fire back. So you just got to, go through your various platforms to see where he fired back at you at. Because it could be on Twitter. It could be a TikTok video. You don't know what he's going to do when he responds back to you. So
Right.
I think that's why they don't mess with him.
Amir is right. He's right. Fig. I mean, he makes these little sly remarks, but is that a leader? I mean, when you're a leader of men, we don't hold him to the fire when it comes to being vocal with his own team, do we, Fig?
No, not at all. And I believe the reason is because he's never professed himself to be anything other than a guy who just wants to go out there and hoop. He's like, I'm in love with the game of basketball. I've been in love with the game of basketball since I was a kid. And that's all I really want to do. I want to go out there and hoop. When something happens, he puts it in the hands of the people who are supposed to make the decisions. That's what he did when he was in OKC. He went to the front office. He was like, listen, Russell Westbrook, I love the guy, personally and stuff like that. But when it comes to the game, he's on the ball way too much. He's not giving it up. He's turning it over, stuff like that. They wouldn't do anything. And he was like, you know what? I've had enough. I'm out. What I believe that you're talking about, he doesn't get the criticism that LeBron James gets.
Right.
And I think the main reason is, and this is it in a nutshell, in my opinion, nobody has ever compared Kevin Durant to Michael Jeffrey Jordan. Never, ever, ever has anybody said that Kevin Durant is a better basketball player than Michael Jordan.
Wow.
Which so happened to be in our previous segment when he was with the Wizards at 39 and 40, averaged 22.9 points a game in 2001 at 39, and at 40, he averaged 20 points a game with the Washington Wizards. That's why I thought it was blasphemy to talk about an old man averaging 20 points with young boys in the NBA. But I think LeBron might be able to do that if he plays that long.
Yo, just join us. Miss Yolanda Rogers just popped into the chat. How about you? Business Bully TV.
Yes,
KD, why doesn't he get the same ire as a guy like LeBron James when it comes to being a leader of men?
Because people don't want to see somebody who looks like Kevin Durant as a leader. He's a different type of build. He's unmistakable. Like he's not the typical archetype. Like you can, and when I say this, I'm not trying to be funny, but I'm speaking strictly from a business perspective. You can market a LeBron James differently than you can market a Kevin Durant.
How so?
Kevin Durant sneakers are some of the dopest sneakers I've ever bought my daughter. I've never owned a pair, but they're dope as hell. LeBron's though, like there are lines for LeBron's, like he's Jordan. Right? Nobody ever said, you know what? We're going to make a new Space Jam. Let's do it with Kevin Durant. Nobody goes, sometimes I dream that here's me, KD.
Hold on.
They're not doing
Bully.
that.
Hold on, Business Bully. Are you implying that Kevin Durant is not as attractive as LeBron James, so he gets treated differently?
Uncle Rodney, first of all, I don't judge the attractiveness of other men, but as a businessman that has to deal in optics, I will say that there's a reason that somebody who looks like he eats 17 Subway sandwiches for an appetizer, like KD obviously does, because that's a big, tall dude, is not in those commercials, but somebody like a Steph Curry is. I'm just saying, the last time you ever seen KD really in a public sphere that was not on the court was when he told his mama, "You the real MVP."
Wow.
True
They don't
Very
like
story.
that
interesting
anymore.
comments, man. I gotta take it in. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's see. And Miss Sharonda came through with the topics for the day. How about this, guys? The NFL, 2 years into the pandemic, they're eliminating COVID-19 testing. Have y'all seen this? The NFL, okay, so they announced that they're gonna do the combine in the bubble, and a bunch of the athletes said, "We're not coming. Y'all gonna do your little bubble. We're not doing your combine." So the NFL, they ended the fight against COVID. They announced it this week in a memo. The league declared an end to COVID testing for 2022.
Hmm.
All because the players, and you know what, Fig? I gotta give you credit. And if we come together, then we can make a difference. The players like, yo, we not coming to your combine. Fig, what's your thoughts on this, man? I mean, is COVID over? Did we not get the memo?
Listen, COVID is not over. It's just that people decided they weren't going to participate. I mean, listen. I mean, they're not talking about it as much as they was, but believe me, it ain't going nowhere. Because if you go to the hospital, the beds are still filled. So it's not over. But it is, like I said, if people decide that they're not going to participate with an organization's decision to put you in a bubble or what have you and stuff like that, then the organization will have to they'll have to acquiesce, man. They'll just have to go along with the program because at the end of the day, the bosses pay the bills, but the people run the show.
Hey, in the words of Bilbo, money talks. How about this, Bully? You're at Business Bully TV.
Yes, sir.
How about this, man? This is crazy to me.
Mm-hmm.
The COVID numbers are down across the board.
Yes, sir.
But is it over? And how about this for the rest of us in the world? Is this an indicator? Because when I say COVID was real, is when the NFL and the NBA start reacting to it. So maybe they're also an indicator of the demise of COVID-19. What's your thoughts?
COVID-19 is with us for as long as it will be with us. This is no different than what happened in the early 1920s when it came to the Spanish flu. The other part of that is having had and survived COVID, I will tell you that COVID is very real. And to Minister Figrecon's point of why the beds are continuously being filled in the hospital, it's because they get an additional $3,500 to $10,000 per person who has COVID. I actually have a friend that I spar with in Krav Maga who was telling me that her aunt's daughter got an offer for more money just to say that it was a COVID death because that's what's happening. They make more money. Yes, sir.
How much money do they pay you if you die from it?
Oh, I mean, they get paid. I don't know how much money they pay if you die from it, but they were going to give her like $7,000. But my whole thing is that's enough to paint the whole house Imodium green, Fig, if that's what you want. But yeah, this ain't going nowhere. This comes down to money. This is all about money, Uncle Rodney.
Shouts out to the Kia Joyner listening right now. She said, hold up. If COVID is gone, her body haven't got the memo. She got COVID right now. Yo, Amir A-Rock Silly, man, I know you've been a skeptic on this COVID train a long time. What's your thoughts, man? The NFL has spoken. It's like, look, what we not going to do is stop this combine over no damn COVID.
I truly appreciate, and I think that we do have to be careful about our health. So let me start by saying that the COVID situation as it currently stands has been overblown since day one, but it's been overblown because we just got caught off guard. Nobody has yet acknowledged that this thing came in a whirlwind and people were not prepared because we were all in a perpetual ideology of just work, work, work. Very few of us were taking care of ourselves the way that we could and we should. Now, fast forward to where we are almost 2.5 years later, People have had an opportunity to slow down. People have had an opportunity, in some cases, to get their health in order and to do that checklist. Oh, snap! My liver's out of control. My heart's not doing what it's supposed to. So forth and so on. Hopefully, people are doing what they're supposed to do in terms of then fixing said problems. Because when you fix those problems, then COVID or any other thing that might attack your system does not have the ability to do that because you are now healthy. The NFL, the NBA, Major League Baseball, hockey, so forth and so on. You know what's funny? We have yet to really say or have heard a story where hockey paused, took a backseat to, said that they were affected by. We didn't hear too many stories about hockey being affected by this. Hockey seemed to go
Because
on
we don't give a
its
damn,
merry way.
Amir. That's all. I'm sure
But
it was happening.
no, but my point to it is to the point that you're making. Football is New York, or I mean, not New York, is America's game. It was baseball, but now football is America's game,
True
and
enough.
you can't stop what pays the bills, what keeps us distracted, which allows them to do all of the infamous and weird things that they do while we're paying attention to football. So that's where we are with this. And what we're dealing with is the ramifications of people then going forward and going, okay, now we have to kind of get back to something that'll get them distracted again. So they're going full fledged with it and watch and see what happens, all the fun stuff that is going to be happening on the outside with the world.
Love it. Hey, comedian Fig, you got thoughts?
I just want to know what I know that works for America, but what are we gonna do with the rest of the world that had COVID? I'm
The
done.
rest of the world, okay,
The
but
rest
the
of the
rest of
world
the world
is
having
already.
COVID is, to our knowledge, that's what they said. But we seem to have, the rest of the world seems to be getting back to their normalcy in whatever ways it's been normal for them. They just haven't been allowing us to go in and see it. So if you don't see what's going on over there, you think to yourself, oh, they said it's crazy over there. Then you talk to people who live there and they go, you know what? We're not experiencing any of the stuff that they say. Oh, okay. That's a whole nother propaganda
Have you been to
situation. But
Canada? You been to Canada lately?
I got two friends who I speak to regularly in Canada. They like, Amir, what they're telling you and what's actually going on isn't, they don't actually match up. But
Now,
hey,
now
what do I know?
Canada. Now, I had a chance to go to Canada. Canada definitely shut completely down though. Like Shannon, what they wasn't letting none of you sick Americans in. They wasn't letting people travel around the world. Like if you went and did anything outside of that country, you had to come in quarantine for like 14 to 20 days. So
2 weeks. I had a boy that was I'm not gonna name no names. I had a boy managing a major artist that was doing something up in Canada. They made him quarantine for 2 weeks, and even after the 2 weeks, they was like, you know what? You're not really that essential, and they sent his behind home.
Fig
yeah,
Shabba Ranks has not been a major artist for the better part of 30 years,
Ain't
but
got
you know,
got
go
no
on.
Shabba ranks.
yo, moving on, gentlemen, and this story might consume maybe the rest of the show, or not. I'm not sure. Is anybody familiar with Leah Thomas?
Leah Thomas.
No.
Leah
That's-
Thomas is the transgender women's
Oh,
swimmer.
the swimmer. Oh yeah, let's go.
Yes, she's a member of the swim team over at Penn State, and she is set in a couple of weeks when they go to the national championships. She's set to shatter all female records.
Yeah,
Mhm.
of course.
So the question is, now her teammates, 16 of them,
Mhm.
anonymously, well, it's hard to be anonymous with 16 teammates.
16 of y'all.
16 teammates anonymously sent a letter to the school and the Ivy League stating that Thomas should not be allowed to compete because she could break all of these Ivy League, Penn State records and held by women. Wow, let's unpack this, guys. Bully,
Yes, sir.
trans women competing against what do they? I believe they call them cis women. Your thoughts?
I think that everyone should have the right to do exactly what they want to do, except for when those rights begin to infringe on the rights of others. Right? That dude was garbage. I'm sorry. That lady who used to be a dude was garbage when she was a he.
Okay.
So that's point number one. Point number two is I suffer as many comedians do from, anxiety and depression, right? That kind of makes me disabled. It kind of means that I'm differently abled. If I were to get into the Special Olympics tournament of champions for Jeopardy, I'm wiping the floor with the rest of those folks who have helmets on the short bus because I'm still a genius. But I can be differently abled. If you were averaging 22nd, or I'm sorry, 16th place as a man, but then you say I'm trans, and then you're number one, and now everybody's cheering for whoever comes in second place because they know the fix is in. There's something wrong with that. And biologically speaking, you are treated differently medically if you're a biological male than you were a biological woman. You know, and therein lies the problem. Those are all facts. I think everybody should have what they need to have, but no, this is not fair to the women who were genetically born women who trained their entire lives to swim and to reach that height, to have to come in and deal with a 16th place man who couldn't cut it as a man as an athlete.
Amir A. Rock Silly, the bully has spoken. As we unpack this thing, man, how do we make it work? Do you get a trans athlete some sort of handicap? Do you allow that person? Do you start the trans athlete 30 seconds later? I mean, this idea of transgender people is not going away. So how do we work this out, or do they just only compete against other trans athletes?
It's funny. I don't know if there's an out for this, because in all fairness to all of the wonderful points that Dave just made, we can't ask if you go either way for somebody who is born under a certain sexual preference and then makes the decision to change that sexual preference, to then be able to compete with whatever their new preference is. And especially, as he just pointed out, when you're talking about a man who is now, considers himself to be a female. Now, I don't hate the idea of people stepping into whoever and whatever they feel they're supposed to be. I'm all good with that. But I think that once you start trying to, make things competitions, that's where the thing gets really funky. And I don't know if there's any real way to make that stuff work. I don't think there is, to be honest with you, because I just think that it's an unfair advantage regardless. And we can't justify the unfairness in how that works out. You just can't.
Wow, man, such a great point, Amir. Comedian Fig, I mean, it seems like we're all on the same page. But if you could put yourself in the shoes of a transgender, a woman, she's looking to be identified. She wants to be treated equally. She wants to be the woman that she feels like she wants to be. Is there any way to make this work in your mind?
Yeah, listen, men don't compete against women, and women don't compete against men for a reason. And even if you identify as a woman, you still have those male hormones. You still have you have that male muscle mass. And it's not fair for men to compete against women. I don't care what you feel in your mind. It doesn't change your physicality. It doesn't change your muscle mass. It doesn't change your bone structure. It doesn't change. So I think that the answer is to have transgender men and women, however it is, to compete against each other the same way women compete against each other and the same way men compete against each other. I think there should be a section for people who are trans to compete against each other, because if you take steroids as a woman and you have male hormones, they disqualify you. So
Facts.
They
I
do.
don't understand this whole thing about just because you're trans. I understand it on a political thing. You know what I mean? I believe you have all the rights to do whatever it is that you want to do. But when it comes to athletics, you have an unfair advantage. That's why she's set up to shatter all of the female records, because she's not a female. I mean, physically, in muscle mass, bone structure, in your mind, okay, Be whatever you want, but physically, you're made different, and you have an unfair advantage.
Absolutely. For the past 3 years, confession time, I have identified as a Power Ranger. So, I mean, anytime y'all need me to save the universe, bitch, it's morphin' time. I'll let y'all know.
What's wrong with you, man?
I don't have the right
Yo,
to compete with
the
the other
floor is
Power
open,
Rangers.
man. We got tons of female listeners, man. The link is right there. The StreamYard link. I mean, come on in here. I would love to hear from a woman's perspective, or anybody on the other side, or a member of the LGBTQ. Please, I mean, chime in on this subject. Leah, what's her name? Leah Johnson. She might be black. I don't know. No, she's not black. Uh, I'm sorry, her name
Can we get
escaped.
Russell Westbrook on the show? I mean, I would love another take of somebody in the community.
Wow.
Oh, okay. What about Lakeith Stanfield?
Wow.
Yeah.
Is that what we doing?
I was just asking. Listen, first of all, I'm a member of the community. I am a sapiosexual, Uncle Rodney. That means I get turned on sexually
I know
by
exactly
intelligence.
what it means.
I just want to. Now that wasn't for you. You are intelligent, Uncle Rodney.
Leah Thompson, Leah Thomas, I'm sorry, is her name. She is a swimmer, and she was just okay as a man, but she is a vicious ass woman swimmer. Joining us, asking ye shall receive. Janelle popped in yesterday, fabulous comedian, but also Janelle,
There she is.
as a woman. What's your thoughts, man? Leah says, "Look, I'm trans. I'm a part of the LGBTQ. I want to live my life as a woman, and I want to compete. How do we make it work?"
I don't think you can make it work in this sense. I think at this point we would have to add another competitive layer. I think, like someone pointed out earlier, women who have trained to compete in this sport forever, it's not fair. We already divide sports with genders. You know what I'm saying? We already had, if that was the case, everybody would just compete in one pool, but we separate sports for, between male and female for a reason. So I just don't think it's fair to, I don't want to say this because I know it sounds horrible, but bring like a super gender in and be like, boom, there you go. I just don't think it's fair. We do need to reevaluate, because I do believe in trans rights, but then you shift the whole dynamic of sports, and so I mean,
Hey,
are we
this
there
is
for
only
the
an issue
people?
with trans coming from male to female. Is this a non-issue from guys going women becoming men? What's your thoughts, Fig?
It's no, because it's not, because women's structure is not like the male structure. Their bones, their muscle mass, it's not the same. It's only when it's reversed. Put it to you this way: tell me the NBA player worth his salt that you would think is fair to go and play in the WNBA. Can we
Oh,
put
please,
LeBron
please,
James, Russell Westbrook,
please.
Steph Curry? Can we put Kevin
Hold on.
Durant? How about if Shaq decided that he wanted
Please.
to be a woman and he wanted to play for the WNBA? Like, come on, what are we talking about? This is ridiculous.
Hey, that's not the first time we've heard that. Dave Chappelle mentioned that and came under real fire from the trans community. Yo,
Just
Amir, I mean, this could be laughable, but it's really not funny because this is a reality right now. What's your thoughts?
Again, it's another one of those situations. Fig is absolutely right. We know that just based off of the physicality and the way that men and women are structured, it's just a different. It's just a big difference, and it's not a big difference in terms of mind frame and mindset. That all pans out to be the same to some degree. But the reality of it all is when you physically start talking about sports and specific sports, there is definitely a super difference between the two. And the mere fact that, like you said, if we were to switch the situation around, it doesn't even ring true when you get into an altercation. For instance, you might be out in the streets, and all of you are comedians, so y'all have shared stories similar to this. But you're out in the streets, you come across a woman who identifies as a male, you might get into altercation with that person, and then they show up in court with a full dress, a hairdo, and all that. You're like, wait a minute, that's not who I had to fight with. They wasn't even there. I'm not sure who this person is. So that's just the way that works. We know that, we've seen that time and time again. You'd be like, what? How did I get here? Sir, I'm telling you that she was not a sir. She was a sir. I'm confused. So it's
Wow.
scary.
Bully,
Yes, sir.
you had something.
Two things I want to bring up, Uncle Rodney. First thing is, I blame black people for this, specifically black people in entertainment. I remember when I was a young man, there was a movie, right, where a white guy couldn't qualify to go to school on his own because he was a poor white man, but he still felt entitled enough to rob a black woman of a scholarship, and they called it Soul Man. Now all of a sudden, you got a whole bunch of white boys at HBCUs doing that very same thing. I also, when it comes to this issue of Leah Thomas, I need to lay that blame squarely upon one Miguel Nunez. Have you ever seen Juwanna Man? It is a story of an NBA player that couldn't quite cut it in the NBA, who went to the WNBA and became dominant. All this white girl.
Juwanna Man was a good NBA player.
Juwanna Man was average at best. That's why he went. He was okay.
That's not why he went.
He got kicked out, right?
I don't remember.
He was still dominant.
He's right. He's right.
He was
Rodney,
dominant.
The funny thing about it, if this
I
was
thought
a
he got
spelling
kicked.
bee, we wouldn't have any problem. If this is a spelling bee, a science test, if it was an aptitude test, if it
No
was
problem.
anything that had anything to do other than physicality, we wouldn't have any problem with it. If it's about getting a job, if you want to be an attorney, a doctor, whatever, we don't have a problem with it. But when
If
it
you
comes
want to
to
do stand
athletic,
up,
it's not fair.
right? I blame Juwanna Man.
It's just not fair. All right, man. I think we beat it to death. Let's move on. If anybody else wants to chime in, much appreciated. Janelle, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Thank you for popping in with us, and we'll keep you around for a couple more segments. Kenny Pickett's hands measure 8.5 inches, smaller than any quarterback currently in the NFL. Two at the annual combine for the best player in the country. Former Pitt quarterback Kenny Pickett became the latest high-profile passer to have his hand size become part of a pre-draft issue. Yo, so the smallest hands in the NFL belong to, let's see, Burrow, Ryan Tannehill, Jared Goff, and their hands are 9 inches. This guy has a half-inch smaller hands. And some of the guys with the giant hands, who is this? The average hand size is 39. Quarterbacks taking the first round. Let's see. Mark Sanchez, his hands were 10.5 inches. So as you unpack this, I mean, does that affect your ability to throw the football? A fig, I mean, a small hand. I guess I don't know if there's any statistics, and Bully, maybe you can chime in on this. If guys with smaller hands fumble more, what do you think, Fig?
No, I mean, where's the stats on a guy with smaller hand fumbles the ball more or can't play the game at a certain level? I'd ask Kyler Murray is pretty small. What size is his hands? You know what I mean? Like what? And
I don't know.
when
They
you go
didn't
to
mention him in the
combine,
small hand talk.
these guys are in the combine. Why are they measuring these guys' hands and feet? And
No, they measure all that stuff though. They absolutely do that.
But you know what? It's almost like being on the slave block, man. It's like, come on, like what are you doing?
It's absolutely that. Yeah, that's a fact.
What size are your teeth? Is your mother a prostitute? I mean, what kind of stupidness is this?
Is it stupid, Janelle? Is it stupid? I mean, to measure a man's hands, I mean, he is going to be privy to many groupies. Does his hand size matter?
I mean, I think it's stupid to measure his hands, but I do feel he would make a great lesbian with 8.5 inches. That's my opinion,
Well said.
scientifically speaking.
I'm sure there's no science in that at all. Hey, Mir, A-Rock silly. The man has little hands. He's a fabulous quarterback. He's been balling. Could this change the amount of money he makes?
It's so funny because when you said that he was the quarterback of Pitt, I was thinking to myself, if he's obviously been able to, take that D1 school, take it through whatever, measures they've been through the last, few seasons with him as, at the helm. And if they've had winning records, what difference does it make? Look, the only thing that matters is when you get out on that football field, you can throw the ball down the field, and to a point that you made when you started all this, you don't fumble. Size and all that other stuff is neither here nor there. Can you get the job done if given the job? That's all it should really be about.
Bully. I mean, we look at a guy's stature all the time. Somebody brought up Kyler Murray, who is not as tall as the average quarterback. And even when you look at the combine, when a guy is too tall, it becomes a disqualifying factor as well. Is this hand thing enough for us to really dwell on? And will this affect this guy? Will this affect his money on some level?
Well, I mean, for the past 40 years, there hasn't been a whole lot of studies done about it, but in the past 20s, in the past 20, there has. The thing that's funny, Uncle Rodney, is that it doesn't necessarily correlate as far as fumbles go. But statistically speaking, quarterbacks with smaller hands do not last past 4.5 years in the NFL.
Wow.
Quarterbacks who are smaller.
Yes, smaller hands.
Right.
You know, the lesbian hands, as Janelle so eloquently put it. Those are her words, not mine.
Hilarious. Hey, listen, he should have been a singer because I believe he's descendant of one of our great singers, Wilson Pickett.
I knew that was
coming. Is that right?
I knew that was coming.
All right, Russell Westbrook in the news. He said his role with the team changes nightly. The question came up after the Lakers took this loss to the Clippers, 132-111, and the Lakers have been really looking to maybe do some different things with Westbrook, including him coming off the bench. I mean, this has been a dismal season for the Lakers. Could this breathe some life into them if Westbrook comes off the bench? I'm sorry, Amir.
I think actually him coming off the bench probably would be a better situation for him because then, him having the ball in his hands most of the time doesn't necessarily, disrupt the flow of the game. And I also think that it could be beneficial to him because the pressure of being in the being a starter, now he doesn't have to carry that pressure. All he has to do is either help them maintain a lead or, play catch up. So there's, to me, less pressure on him if he's coming off the bench. Now, can his ego take that? Obviously, that's another story. But I think that might serve the Lakers actually pretty well because they need to be able to have their starters rest from time to time and have somebody who they can put the ball in their hands and they still, maintain some continuity for the team.
Hey, Comedian Fig, man, the Lakers having a horrible season. You've noted it many times on this show. Could they shake things up by having Westbrook come off the bench?
It's kind of funny you said that his role change. I used to go to this Italian restaurant from time to time. They used to change the roles, but it never stopped me from eating. I'm just like,
who are you, man?
They putting this kid on. They talk about having him come off the bench. I mean, the funny thing about it is whether he comes off the bench, whether he starts the game, whether he ends the game or begins the game, his shot is still his shot, and the turnovers are still his turnovers. Maybe, just maybe, he could do a little better playing against the second squad of another team as opposed to their starters. But at the end of the day, this has been who Russell Westbrook was ever since he was in OKC. So I don't see him coming off the bench, how that's going to change anything.
I mean, Janelle, man, I mean, the guy is a triple-double threat. He does have a history of maybe turning the ball over, but he also has a history of being a cold-ass basketball player, and he hasn't been that this season. Could this shakeup be what he really needs?
I think just like what Amir said, I think moving him around would help a little bit more. I think when all the pressure is on his back to be the star player and the guy who saves the day, he kind of sucks. He lets you down, and I think it's because his ego gets in the way of his game. So I definitely think let him, play the background, sing back up a little bit might be beneficial because the Lakers do suck this season. I think it's the uniforms though.
Did you say he kind of sucks?
I look at sports from a female perspective, of course. I mean, he's a great athlete. Don't get me wrong; he's good, but even back in OKC, I wasn't impressed. I just felt like his ego got in the way. He was all, if he always plays second fiddle, he kind of farts along to me.
Wow. Speaking of farting along, when you start to lose that weight, your gas will get a little awry. My man, Business Bully, you can find him at Business Bully TV. Westbrook, man, you love his outfits, I'm sure.
Okay, first of all, no. Full parry on that. Secondly, you know how we were just talking about Leah Thomas and the importance of recognizing who you are and what you should be. Listen, there are people who really want their pronouns to be recognized. Like there are people who want to be referred to as he and him, she and her, them and they. Russell Westbrook is clearly has and been. But having said that, I think it's important. I think it's important that we recognize the fact that there is so much more money Russell Westbrook could make, aside from the $44.21 million he's already being paid to be hot trash truck juice in a lace dress. I think that we're missing out on the endorsements from Pine Saw, from him riding that pine so much. He seems to love wood anyway, so I mean, I think this works out perfectly.
What?
What?
Man, what's wrong with you?
He's a basketball player. They play on the hardwood. What is wrong with you people? See, this is why. There's something wrong with y'all.
Yo, let's keep it moving, man. The show is quickly coming to an end. Thank you to Miss Janelle for coming in and rocking with us yet again.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Duke basketball coach Mike
Krzyzewski.
Coach K.
Is that how you say that?
Yeah, Coach K.
Coach K. Yeah, just call him Coach K.
I know how you say it, but when you read it, Coach says farewell game is set for at Cameron Indoor on Saturday. Chesney will coach his final home game, man, at Duke. Many years, many players have come through Duke and worked under this guy's tenure, man. And it's the end of an era. Am I right, Bully?
Absolutely. First of all, as a Temple University alum, I will tell you, I do not like Coach K because every time we face Duke, Duke beat the living tar out of us. And I'm talking the John Chaney era. So, let's not get it twisted. Secondly, you have to respect the fact that other than John Madden, Coach K had one of the most popular basketball games, one of the most popular sports games on Sega Genesis. Coach K's thing was serious. This dude understood the importance of the marketing dollar and the endorsement deal, even though you're the guy with the clipboard. He made it sexy for these other folks. He paved the way for 2K and a lot of other folks. So aside from his basketball knowledge and prowess, you got to respect Coach K, for real. You can't say his name. He's like Candyman. But other than that, man, catch on to that dude.
Hey, Amir, your thoughts on Coach K?
Well, Coach K is definitely a nemesis. With my brother having played for St. John's and having faced him quite a few times in the NCAA tournament and coming up short. I personally am like Dave. I don't personally like Coach K, but you have to give him his just due for what he's managed to do for the game and his accomplishments and the amount of players who have definitely come through his system. We probably are looking at, the end of not only an era, but what we've known coaching to be for such a long time. And then something that I just wanted to add, because I saw this and I don't know if it's true or not, but I'm understanding that the tickets are going for somewhere between $6,900 and $29,000 a pop or some crazy stuff like that.
For the last game, that is a fact. That was going to be my next
for his
point.
last game, yeah. So I'm like,
ticket prices soar for Coach K's last game. Fig, are you trying to get one of those ticks?
No, man, I'll be working, making my own money, so I won't be dishing nothing out for the Blue Devils game and Coach K's last coaching outing at home. But he's definitely an iconic figure, man. I mean, the players that talk about Coach K and it like give him such praise and honor and stuff like that. It's even players that didn't play for the man that had an opportunity to meet him and to talk to him. I believe LeBron James gave him a big upset that if he played college, he would have loved to have played for Coach K. Um, his reach goes well beyond the college game because he coached for the Olympics also. And the bevy of players, former players that have gone on to the professional levels that are coming back just to be a part of his last game speaks to this man, his integrity and what he gave of himself to the game and also to his players personally, on and off the court.
Yo, Janelle, the tickets for this game are fetching prices, usually reserved for the Super Bowl. With the
Yeah.
cheapest seats, get this, Jay. The cheap seats, 3,400.
I mean, it's Coach K. He's a legend. The impact that he has had in college
Hold on,
basketball.
hold on one second. That's the cheap seats. With the average price nearly double that, and reports of some of the best seats on the floor in the market, more than 50 grand.
Yes, sir.
Oh
Ooh,
my God. Go ahead.
that's a bag. That's a bag. But I mean, it's Duke though. I mean, it's Coach K. It's Duke. He's a legend. He's produced some great players who have went to the league, who play overseas. One of my favorite players, Rashid Suleiman. So I think it's worth it. I mean, yikes! I would never think that for it's not an NBA game, but yeesh, get your bag.
Get the
Rodney,
bag.
may
I
I?
mean, who is getting this money?
Thank you. That's just what I was about to
Mm,
say, man. Can we
yeah,
start
yeah.
playing these? Can we start paying these players? Because I remember a game where Zion Williamson played, and the president of the United States at the time was at this game to see this kid play. So these tickets are going for an insurmountable amount of money that the normal average person and or student cannot afford. So money
Mhm.
is coming over hand and fist from everywhere, and it's time you pay the players. It's time.
I think
Completely
they passed
agree.
where now they can get paid, right?
Completely agree. Everybody freeze. It's time for us to get out of here. Great show today, guys. We banged through this really quickly. Shouts out to Sharonda, who furnished us the story. Shouts out to the Frank Holder and Talent, who are together with the photo shoot for the Human Meal. Here we go. Where can people find you? Be a part of what you do at Comedian Fig.
Hey man, listen, you can be a part of what I do right here at Comedian Fig on all social media platforms. Check out my pages. Also this weekend we're in Massachusetts, Talent and I, and then on Saturday we'll be in Syracuse for a big show. It's gonna be absolutely amazing. Come check your boy out.
Shouts out to Fig's Muscles. Me and A-Rock Silly. How do we stay in touch and be a
Yes.
part of what you're doing?
I'm A-Rock Silly down there at the bottom on Instagram, and I'm Amir Silly on Facebook and on Twitter. I think me and Talent Tonight have our race debaters at 6 p.m. on IG. So if you're around, check us out.
Hey, always great. You guys do such a great job. Business Bully, you can find him at Business Bully TV. But I mean, it may be other places. Business Bully, he
Yes,
won't
sir.
be denied.
No, sir, I will
Uh,
not. 888
Go ahead.
830 0314. Hit Bully up on the low because Bully's about to blow. Listen to me, man. Everywhere else at the Business Bully, IG and I are at war right now. I don't know why. I don't know what I did to IG, but I still have Business Bully TV. They haven't shut that one down just yet. But shout out to everybody, man. Thank y'all so much for having me. I love this show. And
Hey,
the one thing is stay away from Janelle Banks because I'm telling you, the second the braces come off, y'all in trouble.
yo, JB in the place to be. Janelle Banks, man. How do people stay in touch and be a part of what you're doing?
You can find me on all social media platforms under Miss Just Laugh. That's MISSJUSLAUGH.
And I am Rodney Perry. You can find me at Rodney Perry Live on all social media. And that is the Box Seats.